What's up, sports fans? It's your boy Mike, the sports guy, and he's here today with a Major League Baseball power rankings. Yes, the week-long hiatus is over. I am back from Moosehead Lake, Maine, and quick tidbit, any time you want to go unplug for about a week and do nothing but relax and chill and enjoy anything lake life, that's an absolutely perfect spot to vacation, let alone for a week in June. Perfect place. Recommend it. Top of the list. Maine's such a great state. Man, I wish I lived there, but I don't. But that's okay. So anyway, I was gonna make a video last week with the power rankings. Well, timing constraints kind of came to a head, and we're here today on the 7th of June, just after watching Montreal beat Winnipeg to sweep the series in overtime. Tyler Toffoli, I love you. Okay, maybe not that much. You're not a New York Ranger, but that's okay. Man, what a series that is, and what a series also the Isles and the Bruins tonight too. Game 5, the Isles edging out the Bees. But we're not here to talk hockey. We're here to talk baseball. So, without further ado, let's get to it. I'll go into the corner. So I'm going to put up what I had down for last week's power rankings, all right? And the week before. So I have the week before's power rankings. I think I'm in the wrong spot here. Yes, I am. There we go. Get myself in the corner so you guys can see where I'm at. A little bit of technical difficulties here. There we go. Okay. All right. Because we do this in one shot and that's it. So this is the power rankings from 2 weeks ago. Get your notes down. Quickly get your things. I'll go over each the movement of the teams for the past 2 weeks as I go through it. So this is last week. This is 2 weeks ago, the 23rd of May. 2 weeks ago, Tampa Bay was your number one team. Arizona was last. Last week, the video I was going to do that I never did, this is what the power rankings would look like. All right? Quickly get it down in your notes. Quickly get it down before you forget, before you lose it, before you get confused. Baltimore was your last team last week. Tampa Bay was still number one. There was a lot of movement between teams. Like I said, I'll go over it real quick. All right. So, we've gone through the last 2 weeks. Quickly on the board. Let's get to it. All right. Starting off with, and let me get my notes in front of me. Perfect. All right. Starting off, number 30 for 6-6, Arizona. Arizona really hasn't moved much. I have more notes on my right here, too. Arizona losing 2 out of 3 against the Mets this week, and then they lost all 4 against Milwaukee. They are the worst team in baseball with a winning percentage of .328. They're 20-41. They lost 5 in a row this week, went 1-6. They won only 2 out of the last 10. The last 2 weeks, they have not moved at all. So they moved up the week before to 29. Now they're back down to 30. Man, just the injuries killed this team. The pitching's been horrible. It's just this team's a mess. And what a shame, because this team was supposed to at least do something, right? Maybe not. So Arizona, you're at the bottom of the list again. Number 29, the Texas Rangers. So the Texas Rangers, from when I did this power rankings 2 weeks ago, have tumbled down 10 spots. They went down 9 spots between the 23rd and last week, and now down another spot. Starting pitching injuries have piled up. And, I mean, I feel for the Rangers. They don't have a lot of depth as it is. Their offense can only be carried by one man for so long, and eventually kind of gave way. So, Texas is now 23-38 with a .377 winning percentage. They went 1-5 this week. They've only won 1 game out of 9. One game out of 10. They got swept by Colorado, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against Tampa Bay. Did squeak out a win on Friday, but what are you going to do? They're now 29th in the power rankings of this week. Moving up 2 spots, however, is the Baltimore Orioles. And overall, they've moved up 1 spot within the past 2 weeks. Baltimore coming off winning 2 out of 3 against Cleveland and beating up the Indians pitchers on Sunday with an 18-5 win. They have won 4 out of their they won 4 out of 6 this week. They won 4 out of 10. And after coming off a really, really bad losing streak, they beat up Cleveland. Now, is it much more Cleveland's fault? I don't know. Maybe Baltimore finally need a wake-up call? I don't know. They're still only 12 games out of the wild card in the American League. That's all you're going to get from them now. They're 21-38. I'm pretty sure. I mean, call it a miracle if you can get it that way. But Baltimore's not probably going to be going anywhere. But they do have some bright spots on this team. They're on the way up eventually. Just got to get some starting pitching, man. That's really what it comes down to. And it's been struggling. Now you get to play the Mets at home for 2. Not an easy stretch for Baltimore coming up. Let's see how it plays out. Ahead of them in the standings in the power rankings is the Colorado Rockies at 27. Colorado at 24-36. That's an even 400 in the winning percentage. They finally are at 4-22 on the road. That's a great record to have. Colorado did not move up from last week. Overall, they've lost a spot in the standing, or in the power rankings, rather. They were 26 2 weeks ago. And Colorado coming off a sweep of the Texas Rangers, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against Oakland. At least they won a game. Been middling here a little bit here. Anytime they're on the road, it's been a struggle. It's been noticeable. Their home record is 20-14, 6 games over 500, yet they are an abysmal 18 games under 500 away. They're also 17 games under 500 against teams over 500 this year. So, and now Trevor Story, the story now in Colorado, obviously does not want to resign. So, let bygones be bygones in Colorado as things play out as they should. Pittsburgh is now at 26. They have not moved up compared to last week on the 30th when I had my rankings done. They did move up 2 spots from 2 weeks ago. Pittsburgh playing a little bit better. They won 3 out of 4 against Miami this past weekend. That's a big series win for them. And they've been playing 500 ball for the past 2 weeks. So, can't complain about Pittsburgh. They're not expected to go anywhere. But Brian Hayes is back, so it's good to see that. So at least he got some positives happening over in Bucko Land in Western PA. Minnesota is now 25. Minnesota from last week not moving up. However, Minnesota moving up 2 spots from 2 weeks ago from 27. Minnesota now at 24-35. They're 9 games back of the wild card in the American League. They lost 2 out of 3 against Baltimore, and the 1 win was a win in 10 innings. And then they split the series against Kansas City. At least they won the last 2. They went 3-4 this week. Minnesota's just there. I mean, it's a shame because this team had a lot of talent coming into this year. Had a great shot at winning that division, and nothing. So, they are creeping their way up. They did get ahead of Detroit in the standings at one point this week. But now they are tied with Detroit in the standings, and Detroit coming in ahead of them in the power rankings at 24. They have the same record at 24-35. Also 9 games back in the American League wild card. They split with Milwaukee in a 2-game series, lost the first game in 10 innings, won the second one 10-7, and then they lost 3 out of 4 against the White Sox, which is expected. The White Sox are a much better team than Detroit, as they should be. You never know, though, with how that goes. But they went 2-4 this week. They have won 5 out of the last 10. So 500 ball for them for pretty much the last 2 weeks for them. And compared to a couple weeks ago, they're still only 1 spot back from where they were. They were 23 last week. Florida, Miami is at 23 now. They dropped 5 spots from the previous week. And Miami's been dropping since then. They've dropped 7 spots since we last saw the power rankings on this channel. Miami at 25-33 and slipping very quickly in the National League East. The Marlins losing both games in a 2-game set to Toronto, and then they lost 3 out of 4 against Pittsburgh. That isn't going to win any fans over in Miami for that. And I'm not saying injuries have been playing a role. It's just that they're not a great team, and I think a 60-game season really kind of turned a lot of heads. Maybe Florida would be a dark horse in the East, or in a wild card setting in the National League. Yes, they still have a shot. They're not completely out of it. Miami is only 8.5 out of the National League wild card and 7 out of the division right now. Granted, the division's, holding on to their own, but we'll get to more of that later. So we'll see what Florida can do. They still got time, but they're slipping a little bit lately. And this is where you start to see teams start to separate themselves. I think Miami's starting to get into that role. Washington's not too far ahead of them. They're 22nd, and Washington's been struggling as well. They were 24th last week, so that drops them 2 spots. They moves them up 2 spots, but they were 20th the week before. So in general, since we last saw each other, 2 spots down. The Nationals are 24-32 with a 429 winning percentage. That 8-16 record against teams over 500 has not fared them very well, especially against the Mets. They have struggled as well. However, they're also 7 games out of the division in the East, 8.5 of a wild card spot. They split the series against Atlanta, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against Philly. That's not going to win many hearts over. They've only won 3 out of their last 10. Washington's struggles have been, it depends on what series it is. Been pitching, bullpen, fielding, hitting. Consistency's not there for the Nats, which is a bummer because that team's got a lot of talent, especially in the starting pitching. Maybe if they start getting going, I don't know, but they're just not showing it this year, and I can't put my finger on why. But they might become big sellers at the deadline, like we've been hearing. Let's see if that plays out well for them. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are now at the 21st spot. And they were 21st last week. They were 22nd the week before, so in a 2-week trend, they've been put up 1 spot. Overall, the Angels have been playing pretty well as of late. I mean, they're only 5 games out of 500. Yeah, they're without Mike Trout, but Shohei Ohtani's still a god. We can live with that. They split the series against the Giants early in the week, and then they went on and split the series against Seattle. They've been playing much better baseball as of late. 500 ball, but for the Angels, that's as much as you can think about and figure out. Some of their key players need to start hitting more. Rendon. So let's see what the Angels can do over time. I don't think they're going to move up too much, but you never know. It's the American League West. Anything can happen. Number 20, the Philadelphia Phillies. They're at 28-30. That's 2 games under 500. 4 games out of the National League East lead, 5.5 out of the National League wild card. They split the series against Cincinnati since the game on Wednesday got rained out. They beat up Cincinnati in the second game, 17-3, lost the first one 11-1. And then they won 2 out of 3 against the Nats this past weekend. So that's a 3-2 record this week, 5-5 of the last 10. Philly has moved up 1 spot since we last saw each other. They were 20th last week as well. 21st the week before. They're just there. Sometimes their starting pitching looks absolutely unstoppable, and then you hit the bullpen, and then it completely collapses. But Philly beating up teams that they should be beating up. Let's see if that helps them get up a little bit higher in the standings. Number 19, the Atlanta Braves. They're 1 game under 500 at 28-29. They are 3.5 games out of the National League East, 5 out of the wild card. They split the series against the Nats, and then they won 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, which was surprising to me. Some good games this weekend for the Braves. In a general sense, they were 19th last week and 18th the week before. Not punishing the Braves too much, rather giving the Braves the benefit of the doubt of beating the Dodgers 2 out of 3 this past weekend. It's the other teams ahead of them that's been kind of keeping them down. And I was at the Mets Braves game last week, 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago at this point? It's last Saturday. And man, they show no fight. And then they had this Ozuna thing going on. This team's falling apart, and they don't look like their heads all there at times, especially with the starting pitching being as injured as they are, and then the bullpen can't keep it because the starting pitching is not as strong. Although Acuna has pretty much been the bright spot of this team. Good for him. Acuna's been hitting, and I like to see that. Not as a Met fan, but as a baseball fan, it's good to see him succeed. But you need more than just him to get going. Freddie Freeman's been struggling. He needs to start hitting, and I think I said that in the last video too. But let's see what the Braves can do. They could still make a push, but the team that's ahead of them in the standings, not really going to help them. No, also, your 19, 20, 22, 23, those are your 4 teams in the National League East. That isn't the number 1 team in the National League East. That's a problem. And this division was supposed to be a lot more competitive this year than we thought. Man, were we wrong, were we? Were we? Yeah, we were. All right, moving on. Kansas City, number 18. They moved down from last week from 17th. And Kansas City moves down from 2 weeks ago, 4 spots from 14th. By virtue of other teams that are ahead of them, they're 1 game over 500 which is something we did not expect Kansas City to actually be this year. They started off red hot, then they got really cold. Now they're kind of middling now, so that's not a terrible place to be. They're 3 games out of the wild card in the American League. They're 6 games out of the American League Central. They beat Pittsburgh both games that they played this week, Monday and Tuesday, and then they split the series against Minnesota. That's not very good confidence booster, but you go 4-2 this week. They don't move up too much. They're still at 18. Seattle moves down. Rather, Kansas City moved down too. Seattle moves down 1 spot as well coming into this week at number 17. They were 16th last week. They have moved up 8 spots from the first week that we visited, and that was from 25th because Seattle got really hot. They're now 1 game under 500 at 30-31. They did lose 2 out of 3 against Oakland, and then they split the series against the Angels this past weekend. So a 3-4 record, nothing to really go against too much. A lot better than Seattle has been expected to be. Some guys are starting to hit now, which is great to see because Seattle's batting average was the worst in the league. I'm not 100% sure if that's still the case. Just kind of winging it with the stats. Well, I mean, the stats that are on here are records, not by the averages. I mean, it could be worse. But anyway, there you go, 17. The Reds moving up to 16. The Cincinnati Reds are one of the hottest teams in baseball. They go up 8 spots from the first week at 24 to 16. They move up 6 spots from last week from 22. And they're now 1 game under 500. Here come the Cincinnati Reds. Now, are they for real? I don't know. Luis Castillo, you need to figure it out, buddy. Hurry up and do it quick before the bandwagon Red fans start to throw you under the bus. I mean, all the Red fans. Cincinnati now 4 games out of the Central lead and 1 game back of the wild card. No, excuse me, 5 games back of the wild card. Look in the wrong column. They split the series against the Phillies. They had that ugly 17-3 loss on Tuesday, but then they sweep the Cardinals in 4 games. They went 5-1 this week. They've won 7 of the last 10. Watch out, here come the Cincinnati Reds. As starting pitching, once they get going, they can get going. The other Ohio team, Cleveland, is up ahead of them in 15. Cleveland has moved down 3 spots from last week. They were 12th. The week before, they were 13th, so a grand total of moving down 2 spots from when we saw each other. Cleveland is 31-26. 4 games out of the American League Central, 1 game back of the American League wild card, which is not a bad place to be for Cleveland. You wouldn't expect that from the Indians. They won 2 out of 3 against the White Sox early in the week, and then they got rained out again, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. That's more of a punishment on them. You got to win those games if you're looking to compete in the American League Central or wild card for Cleveland. Got to win those games against the downtrodden teams, and you lost 2 out of 3 against the Baltimore Orioles. That's not a good look. I would be concerned a little bit. It seems to be a one-man show in Jose Ramirez, and that's pretty much it. That's not going to get it done for you, Cleveland. Your pitching can't keep you up forever. St. Louis is now down to 14th. St. Louis drops 5 spots. That ties for the biggest drop this week to last week. St. Louis was 9 last week. St. Louis the week before was also 9, so a grand total of losing 5 spots. They're 14th now. St. Louis is now only 2 games over 500 at 31-29. That 8-14 over 500 record ain't going to do you any favors. They're now 2.5 games out of the National League Central, 3.5 out of the wild card. Lost 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, and then they lost all 4 against the Reds. So the Cardinals are struggling, and I would pick that it's probably the starting pitching, but it's probably everything right now. But you're going to have teams that are good that are going to go through stretches like this. St. Louis will pull it together. I think they're too good of a team, not even on paper, just the way that they are on the field and how they perform. They're too good to stay just only 2 games over 500, but you got to win the games when they come to you. And they only won 1 out of 6 this week, and they've only won 3 out of their last 10, and they've lost 5 in a row. Yankees, oh boy. By virtue of the Cardinals moving down, the Yankees do move up 1 spot from 14 the last week to now 13. And the Yankees have dropped 9 spots since we last saw each other. They were number 4. Man, what a difference 2 weeks makes. You get swept up by the Tigers. All right. Then you split the series against Tampa Bay on a game on Thursday, which was, that was an ugly game. And you just got swept and embarrassingly swept at home against the Red Sox. Granted, Boston's a really good team this year, not going to lie. but just the way that the Yankees look. And I was watching the game Sunday night, which is last night at this point, and I remember A-Rod saying, you know, the team that has the fundamentals, something around those lines, that are making the fundamental plays and just making all the plays, they're winning the games. The Yankees are not that team. The Yankees are not hitting in crucial situations. They're not fielding in crucial situations. Very sloppy, very lackluster. And I'm not trying to pick on Aaron Boone here because I don't think. I mean, the Yankees have had their injuries. Don't get me wrong; they're missing key players in this lineup. All right, but I think it falls on a combination of Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman with how this team plays. They're now only 2 games over 500. Like maybe about 2 weeks ago, we were talking about them possibly making a run for the American League East. They're now 6.5 games out of that division lead. And the 3 teams that are ahead of them aren't slowing down anytime soon. Brian Cashman's got to figure this out quick if the Yankees are going to make a run this year in the American League. Because the way that they play on the field, the way that they're pitching, the way their bullpen's been running, who's been running out of their bullpen mostly, and the key guys who are supposed to be lighting up this lineup night in and night out are not getting it done. And this is not a team that's going to succeed long term. This season, 162 games and a postseason, it's just not going to work. And I'm being very critical because my favorite team happens to also play in New York on the National League side. But you got to do better. I mean, I hear it all the time on my local sports station, 660 The Fan, and yikes, just yikes. That's all I have to say. And that Sunday night game was an embarrassment at in the Bronx. I'm sorry. Even with the so-called umpiring problems, you got a team that's going to succeed needs to get past that. You need to get through the adversity and go through it. Moving on, the team ahead of them is Toronto, number 12. So Toronto now at 30-27, 3 games over 500. Last week they were 11th. They moved down a spot just in virtue of other teams moving up. Toronto, actually from 2 weeks ago, is now 5 spots up. They were 17th. Toronto right now is 6 games out of the division lead, 2 games out of the wild card. But they've been playing better of late. They did sweep the Marlins in 2 games, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against Houston, but they kept it close. Vlad Jr.'s mashing. It's the pitching that's been an issue, which is not a surprise. They're all injured, the heck and back, and there's only so much Toronto can do. George Springer's been also hurt, and that's also been hurting them as well. Definitely missing him in the outfield and in the lineup every night. So, but Toronto's still keeping their own. They're still 3 games over 500. They've been looking better than the Yankees, that's for sure. So they're 12th in the power rankings this week. Oakland, on the other hand, has been kind of struggling as of late. They're now 11th. Oakland last week was 10th, and the week before they were 7th, so that's a 4-point drop in the past 2 weeks for the Athletics, who are maybe going to be homeless at some point in the near future, and let's hope not. I would like to see them stay in Oakland, but that's a topic for another time. They are 35-26. That home record 17-17 is something that's not going to help you. Also, that 12-15 away record too, or that over 500 record, isn't something to help you out as well. They do lead the American League West, though. That is the thing. They do lead the American League West by a game, but they have not been playing very well as of late. They did win 2 out of 3 against Seattle, and they did win 2 out of 3 against Colorado, but it's not. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on them, but you're not. You're beating up the teams that you're supposed to. The week before was the week that really hurt the A's. When you're getting smoked, that was not a good week, and I think it is indicative of where they are. I mean, I'm probably being a little harsh at 11 here, but all the other teams that are ahead have been playing better than them. That starts with the New York Mets at number 10, leading the National League East. The Mets were 8th last week. This is by virtue of 2 teams moving up on them. That's fine. Still throwing pretty much half of the AAA lineup out there, and then some. The Mets were 12th 2 weeks ago, so they moved up 2 spots. the games, you beat Arizona 2 out of 3, and you lost one of them in 10 innings. So, I mean, those are games you need to win. But then you go into San Diego, you lose the first two, the but they weren't blowouts. 4-3 loss, 2-0 loss, and it wasn't even like the second game was a bad game. It's just the bats just went cold. And then you go on Saturday, DeGrom pitches, beautiful gem. They win that game 4-0. And then Sunday, Stroman pitched to gem. This starting rotation for the Mets is not entirely fully like perfect yet. All right. Taijuan Walker goes tomorrow in Baltimore, or Peterson's going, and then it's Taijuan Walker. So the Mets have a great chance to really, get it going. Peterson could use a little bit of help. Going against weaker teams could help him. That fifth spot of the rotation still isn't really set because Carrasco's still out. Noah's shut down now. But the Mets are still piecing it together. And it's not like they're getting blown out. And it's like any loss they've been in have been close games. They have been one of the teams that people have been like, oh, well, hey, listen, they're only 4-12 against teams over 500. Well, the rest of the division's under 500. Those are teams they need to beat. And they have the best record in the National League East against teams within the division at 13-8. The only other team that has an over 500 record is Miami with one game over 500 at 10-9. So the Mets somehow are treading water and are able to stay afloat. And they've won 7 of the last 10. I'm loving everything I'm seeing about it, even if it's not pretty. They're playing like a Major League Baseball team, even if the guys are not Major League Baseball caliber. And a lot, I'm going to throw it right now, Luis Rojas deserves a lot of credit for keeping these guys sharp, but so does the combination of Sandy Alderson, whatever general manager he's got, getting in major league guys to fill in and have on this team in depth roles to make sure this team can stay afloat and not only have them staying afloat, they've been winning ball games. And if they're losing, they're not getting blown out. And that's a beautiful sight to see as a Met fan. And they're definitely better than that number 13 team that's on the board. That's also from New York. They play baseball, and they play baseball well. And it's only going to get better if they can get everybody healthy and everybody back in line. Because they're missing a lot of key guys right now. So I'm only salivating a little bit. But I don't know, as a Met fan, I might get disappointed. But this is the new New York Mets. So Steve Cohen at the helm. Thank you, Uncle Steve. We thank you, as well as Sandy and Luis Rojas. You should get some thanks here, too. Mets at 10. They're pulling up a little bit. 29-23, leading that National League East. The hottest team in baseball moves up to number 9. Last week, they were 13th. They move up 4 spots. And the week before that, they were 15th. So they moved up 6 spots since we last saw each other. That's the Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers are now 33-26, are tied for the lead in the National League Central, or one game back in the wild card because they're tied in the Central with the Cubbies now. The Brewers are hot right now. They beat Detroit 1 out of 2, which is fine, and then you swept the Diamondbacks, which you're supposed to do. They've won 9 out of their last 10. 9 out of their last 10. Blah, blah, blah. Let me get that right. So now they move up, as they should. Kind of was going to figure this was going to be coming. The Brewers are too good of a team. They got a lot of talent, and especially in that outfield. They got a lot of talent on this team. So they are definitely cooking now, and they passed the Cardinals in the standings. They now are tied for the league in the National League Central. They are now the number 19 team. Number 8 is also a team that's been playing really good baseball as of late. That's the Houston Astros. They are now 33-26, only one game back of the A's in the American League West. They are the second wild card team in the American League. They beat Boston early this week, 3 out of 4, and then they won 2 out of 3 against Toronto. That's a 5-2 week for the Stros this week. As much as everybody doesn't want them to succeed, they're still a very good team on and off the field. Well, off the field, I'm not sure. I mean, I can't assume that, but on the field, they're pretty good, and that's not even with their A-plus pitching, and that's something that really impressed me with the Astros. But their lineup is deep. They don't have to hit trash cans to mash the ball, and apparently that's the case. Houston 2 weeks ago was at the 10 spot. They have moved up 7. They were 15th last week, so they moved up 7 spots from that spot. There we go. I can do math. They moved up 2 spots. The Stros struggled the week before, but they're definitely playing better than the A's right now. That's for sure. Big tests. Those two teams just keep battling it out. That American League West. They're going to be they're one of those two teams. They're going to make a wild card, and the other one's going to win the division like last year. Chicago Cubbies. They stay at the number 7 spot. They don't move up. They don't move down. 2 weeks ago, they were 11th, so they moved up 4 overall. They are tied for the National League Central lead with the Brewers at 33-26. Also 1 game back of the wild card by virtue. They won all 3 games they played against San Diego early this week, and then they won only 1 against the Giants. I don't punish the Cubbies so much for that, though. That's a tough road trip when you're playing San Francisco, and it's just that's not an easy swing. And but winning 3, sweeping the Padres, that was huge, I think, for the Cubs. And I think at least getting 1 win out of that whole San Francisco series. I mean, I don't fault the Cubbies for losing 3 out of 4 to the Giants right now. There's a reason why I'm wearing this jersey. The Dodgers stay at number 6. The Dodgers were number 2 2 weeks ago. They were number 6 last week, so they moved down 4 spots within the last 2 weeks. Dodgers are now at 34-25. They are 3 games out of the National League West. They are the National League second wild card team. They won 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against the Braves. That's a 3-3 week. They've only won 4 out of their last 10. I'm going to start calling them the Jekyll and Hyde Los Angeles Dodgers because they really should be called that. 1 week they look, 2 weeks, really good. Next 2 weeks, can't pick it with this team, and it's a consistency issue, which is a little bit weird because this team just came off a World Series win. Is it the hangover? Are they missing some players? I think they're missing Jock Peterson a lot, but that's just my opinion. That depth in the outfield really makes a difference. Obviously, their bullpen hasn't been 100%, so they're missing some guys that are now out for the rest of the year. Dodgers at 6. Let's see. I mean, they're in the top row. Can't complain about that. So they're still making a push. That National League West is something else right now. That's for sure. Speaking of San Diego, number 5. Tough week for the Padres. They went 2-5 this week. They're now 36-25. They dropped down 3 spots from last week. They were number 2. The week before, they were number 3. So in total, they've dropped down 2 spots from 2 weeks ago. They are 2 games back of the National League West. They are the number 1 wild card team in the National League. They got swept by the Cubs, and then they lost 2 out of 4 against the Mets. That's a 2-5 week for the Padres. Good thing is that the Dodgers are also struggling as well as them, so they get to keep ahead of the Dodgers. But the Giants are ahead of them right now in the standings. It doesn't really help you too much. But in the long term, will the Padres probably become the division winners in the National League West? I can't say that for certain right now. Chicago White Sox are number 4. Segue. I know, right? So the Chi Sox don't move up or down from last week. They were number 8 2 weeks ago, so they moved up 4 spots. They are your American League Central leaders at a 36-23 record. That's a .610 winning percentage. Their home record's 23-10. That is impressive. They are 500 on the road, also 500 against teams over 500, so that's not too bad. They did lose 2 out of 3 against Cleveland to start the week, but then they won 3 out of 4 against Detroit. Those are teams they need to beat. So they went 4-3 this past week. They won 7 out of the last 10. Not bad for the Chi Sox. After all that they went through a couple weeks ago with the whole Tony La Russa, and Mercedes thing, water under the bridge, right? I guess. When you win, it makes it easy, and especially for the guys up in Boston, which I went through this past weekend. They're number 3. Boston moving up from number 5 spot last week. They are 2 up from 2 weeks ago as well because they were 5th that week as well. They won 4 out of 3 this week. They lost 3 out of 4 against the Houston Astros, but now they've won 4 straight because they won the last game against the Astros, and then they swept the Yankees in the Bronx. The Red Sox are the real deal. They aren't leading the division, but they could darn well win that division. And I think a lot of it has to do with Alex Cora, but I think a lot of it also has to do with the guys in that clubhouse. They got a couple reinforcements. Guys came off an injury And it's just, they've been able to win baseball games. They're mashing the ball like they should, like they were supposed to last year. They just couldn't figure it out. I mean, as much as everybody's going to hate me saying it, Alex Cora, easily your American League Manager of the Year thus far into June. And I don't see the Red Sox slowing down. They're definitely a force to be reckoned with. This past weekend, they play baseball the right way, and they play it well. And they just embarrassed the Yankees in the Bronx, as I've said before, and I'll just keep pounding that down. The Sox are going to really be a force to be reckoned with in the American League. Watch out for the Bo Sox. But the team ahead of them is also nothing to scoff at, too. That's the Tampa Bay Rays. They're the number one team in the American League in the power rankings. They moved down from last week by virtue of the team moving up. They have the second best record in baseball at 38-23. Excuse me. They are 24-18 against teams above 500. They are 23-10 on the road. They lead the American League East by a game over Boston. They split the series against the Yankees, and they won 2 out of 3 against the Rangers. Teams you need to beat. They won 2 in a row. They went 4-3 this week, 7-3 their last 10. Tampa Bay was number 1 the past 2 weeks. They now moved down a spot to the Giants. San Francisco now 37-22 with the best record in baseball coming into tonight. Yeah, I would have never said that probably at the beginning of the year. Nobody expected the San Fran Giants to be this good. Holy mackerel. They went 4-2 this week. They beat the Cubbies 3 out of 4. They split the series against the Angels early in the week. They lead the National League Central by 2 games over San Diego. I don't know how. Everybody's having a renaissance here apparently in San Fran. Buster Posey, Evan Longoria, Brandon Belt. Let's see, Cueto. Alex Wood's been having a good year. Dave Sclafani's been outstanding. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of guys I could probably list off, but I just don't have it off the top of my head right now. The San Francisco Giants, and I'm being very bold about this, could be dangerous because a lot of these guys off the 60-game season, it's like the Boston Bruins in hockey from this past year. Everybody counted them out because they're old. You know, they were talented back in the day. Now, can they keep the success? I don't know. But, man, I can't believe on the 6th of June, we are 2 months into the season and a week removed, that the Giants are your number 1 power rank, not just power rank team, the best team in baseball. Think about that. They're the best team in baseball. What? Who would ever guess that the Giants would be the best team in baseball? I would have never guessed at the beginning of the year. Also would have never guessed that the Cubs would be as good as they are, too, but their bullpen's been outstanding. But, man, what a wonky year this has been. Some teams that you kind of expected to be really good. Minnesota. Maybe Washington. I'll throw that in there. The Braves especially. I got the camera in the way. I can't see where the teams are right in front of me even on the screen. But that's okay. The Yankees, obviously. Cleveland, St. Louis. A little bit of change going on in baseball with some of these teams. And a lot of, like, San Fran, Tampa. Tampa has been good for years, but the turmoil, I mean, the changeover in the lineups always, always gets people. They always find a way. Boston wasn't supposed to, after last year, they've been knocking it out of the park. Just great to see different teams getting in the mix this year. I always like that. It's great for baseball because it creates a different storyline every year, and you don't want to have it kind of seem boring. The San Francisco Giants have made it to number 1 on the power rankings this week, and deservedly so. Congratulations to the boys from the Bay. You got the number 1 spot. So that, for all it's worth, is that in the power rankings for this week. And I would like to thank you for joining me on this lovely, hopefully great, lovely, it was hot here, that's for sure, Monday evening. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. There will be obviously another power rankings, hopefully next Sunday, crossing fingers. That's the plan right now, next Sunday, to get another power rankings on time so everybody can view it on time. Stanley Cup playoffs are ongoing. Round 2 should be over. There's 1 team done. Might be a couple more done by the end of the week, so I'll get a hockey video out there as well. Just try to have some fun, and I hope you enjoyed this. I definitely did. Love talking baseball, and that's pretty much it. Stay classy, everyone. I will see you next time.